Welcome to this week's episode of Success in Women. I'm Linda,
I'm Andrea.
and today we're going to be talking about conversations. But before we do that, Andrea's got the tip of the week.
Well, ladies, this tip was so amazing for me. I was online and I was looking at Instagram, and I subscribe to Jennifer Valentine. I'm sure you all know her from Breakfast Television. I'm no longer with them, but she does a lot online YouTubes. And I use in all my cooking parchment paper for baking, cooking, whatever. I've totally gone off the aluminum foil. But the problem with parchment paper is it's stiff. And every time you want to pour something in the pot, it's like, you go to pour it in and then it slips and it slides and you have to adjust it. And it used to drive me crazy. I'm flipping through and all of a sudden Jennifer comes on and she's talking about parchment paper. Well, she found this tip out and she handed it out. You take the piece of parchment paper that you need to use, and I would have never thought of this, run it under water. And
Wow.
it's so stiff that it just gets pliable. And then you just put it in your casserole dish or whatever you're using, and it just fits in perfectly. And no more struggling with trying to hold it while you're pouring stuff in or
Wow.
whatever. I was like, oh. So since that, over a week now, that's what I've been doing. And I can't even tell you how wonderful it is. So if you're a parchment paper user, wet it.
I was thinking you were going to say you line it with foil and then you put the parchment on top and then anyway, I use parchment all the time as well, and that's a great tip. I'm going to try that next time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Works perfectly.
Anyway, just wanted to tell you how nice you look today, Andrea.
Thank
I'm
you.
actually filming with Success in Women t-shirt because I felt like I just needed to be really comfortable. I'm not sure why, but sometimes I just want to dress down. And so I had to wear one of our t-shirts. But anyway,
Nice. I need to get one.
well, we're going to actually have a whole line at some point coming
good,
up. So
good.
it'll be really great for the ladies.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking about conversations. And every week Andrew and I come on and we talk about different things. So we're having a conversation with each other. But a lot of times you're in a situation where you have to have a conversation with strangers. And for some people, I know it's not that easy.
Well, for you and I don't think it's a hard thing to do. I said, I know a lot of people that do have a difficult time getting conversations going, but I don't think
Well, believe it or not, as much of a talker that I am, when I'm put in those situations where I'm in a room full of strangers, I actually am very uncomfortable starting a conversation.
No way.
I always feel like people aren't going to want to talk to me. And
Oh,
so
my
I have a
goodness.
hard time actually initiating conversations. And so I would be kind of like that wallflower you would see in a room standing by themselves wondering what to do next.
Oh, no. I have never, ever had that problem. And what I like about that is over the years of my husband's business, and now we were always going to different functions and galas or fundraisers and whatnot. And I never had a problem to go up to people. And for instance, I'd say, oh, have you been to this event before? What's it all about? Are you involved with the committee? Or if it's like a wedding, I'll say, oh, are you from groom's side, the bride's side? I don't know. I never had a problem.
Right from the beginning?
Right from the beginning. And
Wow.
I know that it's made me a lot of lifetime friends and hooked me up with a lot of different people. And actually, my husband even got a job once because I started a conversation with a stranger, and they didn't know us. But then when we found out about the building business and all that, it led to business. And I especially helpful on cruises. We've met so many people on cruises because of myself, because my husband is not a conversation starter. Actually, he doesn't like to have conversations much at all. But We were on a cruise once, and we went to a meet and greet, and there was a lot of people there, and it was sort of like standing room only. So I went up on. I saw some couples up on a little stage, so I went up there, and I just saw a girl, and she was standing with her husband, and I said, "Hey," I said. Is this your first time on the cruise? Oh, no. We've been on many cruises. Oh, I said, where are you from? And they happened to be from Tampa. I said, oh, you didn't have far to drive. They're no. And anyways, we started a conversation, and I'd see her around the ship, and we started hanging out on the ship. We'd say, oh, let's meet for dinner, or let's do this. And 10 years later, we must have been on 20 cruises together, and we've been to their home. They've been to our home. And that's how it works.
It's interesting. My sister, my younger sister, she's in real estate, and she has no problem talking to anybody. And matter of fact, she talks to everybody. So when her and her husband go out, on a Friday night or something, she actually does that as well. She makes conversation with the bartender. She'll make conversation with maybe the people at the next table or whatever. But in the end, not only does it help her, I'll say, even raise her confidence level, but it actually has gotten her business as well, because she's so friendly that people like her personality right off the bat, getting to know her. And it was always something that I felt I would have preferred to have a little bit more of that quality. My father was very quiet, and so he was not a conversation starter, which I think a lot of men, there are some, but mostly I've met men that are not conversation starters. And my father was one of them. And I think that I took after my dad in the sense that he could go somewhere and just basically sit, and he wouldn't talk to anybody all night if somebody didn't come and talk to him. And yet my mother used to be the social butterfly.
Oh, yes, she was.
Yes. And, so my sister got all that quality. I got somewhere a little bit in between.
Once it starts, once the conversation maybe gets started, then you have no problem.
I'm a little bit more comfortable as long as I feel like somebody is initiated it because they wanted to talk to me. Because I was, and that's part of, your self-confidence and self-esteem. Sometimes if you have lower self-esteem, you feel like people won't want to talk to you.
Right.
But again, it's up here, and that's the thing I'm working on.
I think people mostly, especially if they're in a social situation, rather than sit there and do nothing, would like to talk with somebody or talk about something. And that's how I put it. Like, if I'm sitting at a table by myself, I will get up and look around and see, maybe I know somebody in the crowd, maybe I don't. I don't like to sit and do nothing or say nothing or talk about nothing. And I love to get to know people. So we can sit and talk, and if I don't know them at all, well, like you say, you start off about why are you there? How are you part of the group? Are you a guest? Whatever. And then you can start talking about, you see this YouTube, TikTok thing, that's all the rave now. Or a movie that, they've seen lately, or a book that when you start to talk, they might say things that if you listen, that will tell you what they're passionate about, what they're like, travel, or have you been anywhere lately? Oh, I went here, there. Oh, and if you've been there, then that really can get the conversation going.
What would you
have
do?
To pick up on that.
Yeah, what would you do though if you tried to start a conversation and people just, because they could be shy, but you could take it like they're snobby. It's not necessarily the case, but sometimes that's what happens, right? People that are very shy feel uncomfortable and just answer, and you got to be, I guess, asking the open-ended questions.
Yeah.
But what would you do if you just went up to somebody and it didn't seem that they were open to talking with you?
Well, I'm going to say that that's hardly happened to me because
good to know.
I'm very good at getting a conversation going. I'm going to tell you that. And you can ask most of our friends and family, and I'm a little bit persistent that way. But say they are just, maybe they're on, want to be on their phone, or they want to do something, then you just say, okay, well, I hope you have fun, and I'll see you around tonight or wherever you are. You know, like I'll say, oh, I'll see you later on the dance floor or where, whatever, right? And you kind of leave like that, and they might say, yeah, okay, we'll see you later. And if they don't want you to go, then they might,
Yeah.
you know,
Say something.
say something. And I mean, I have a brother that's the same. Like, to drag a conversation out of him, it's almost impossible. And I keep trying and keep probing, and then finally I just say, okay, we'll talk to you later.
Well, that's actually like my older sister. And for the longest time, a lot of people thought that she was quite snobby, and she's not. She is quite shy. Not so much now that she's older, but when she was younger,
Yes, she
you
was.
could not get a conversation going with that girl if you paid her. I mean, if you answered a question where she could answer yes or no, that's what she did. So you had to learn over the years. For me, I had to learn over the years how to ask the questions where she had to actually answer in a sentence, because I needed the conversation to be both ways. Otherwise, I was carrying the whole conversation. And
Well,
that's not a
sometimes that
problem for me
happens,
when
yeah.
I'm
Once
I'm
you get
comfortable.
going.
Yeah, no, but once I'm comfortable with
Yeah,
somebody,
right,
but
right.
in a I'll say a new setting,
Right.
where I find it a lot more difficult. And I think it really does go back to self-esteem, and that's what I've been working on, because in business, you're put in situations where you must talk to strangers, and the more you put somebody else at ease, not only do you feel better, but you've made the room feel more comfortable. And I think that's
Exactly.
what you do, Andrea. You're very good at making people feel comfortable, and it just makes a more relaxing
Exactly.
situation. Because really, there are a lot of people like me that you don't realize, but like you said, they are wanting to talk, but
Right.
they're just afraid to make that first
First
move.
move, you know.
And we need people like Andrea to go
Yeah.
actually and be the social butterfly to kind of even bring people together in the sense of conversation.
Exactly. And you know, there's different reasons. Like, I mean, I'm a curious person, so I want to know things. And that was one of the reasons why I sort of picked up the Italian, because I couldn't stand that they were talking around me, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I needed to know. So when you're a curious person too, you will get out there and you know, ask people questions and want to know what they do for a living, or how long they've been doing it. Are they married? Do they have children? Like this is questions. And I'm an open book. I will tell you everything, and people know that about me. If you want to know something, I'll tell you. Whereas some people, you know, they keep all that private, or they don't like to really talk, or they feel like, oh, I'm bragging. Oh, well, so what? Brag. You got a grandchild that's a genius. I want to hear about it. How did that happen? Maybe I could do that with mine. You know, you find out stuff when you talk to people.
It's
And,
true.
you know, and it's the same when you're talking to children. If you're in a room with kids at a birthday party, you know, a child might be sitting there by himself, and instead of just going up and saying, oh, how was your day? How's school going? What grade you in? You know, ask them like, hey, I was wondering the other day, maybe you have an answer. You think there's aliens on other planets? And they might be like, what? All of a sudden you've piqued their interest, and then they're interested in having a conversation. Or, you know, if you were to have a superpower, what would it be? You know, like, especially at this party, what do you think? Like invisibility, that would be fun, you know, things like that. Get them going, what they want to be when they grow up, what kind of house they'd like to live in. Would they like to have a pool? What kind of car would they like to have? Interesting things, not just how was your day at school, because for most of them, it's not that great. They don't want to talk about it.
True enough. True enough. You were talking earlier too, you know, one of the things, because Andrea has a grandchild and he's young, and if you asked a young person, you know, what kind of animal would they be if they could be an animal? And I was thinking when Andrew and I were talking about that, that would be a good conversation starter at some event that you would go to with adults.
Well, they might get scared of you then.
Yeah, but you know what? They're going to look at you with
Yeah,
a different eyes and
exactly.
thinking, what the heck? That's odd. I've never been asked that before, especially at, you know, this type of an event.
And that gets things going.
Well, it does, right?
Yeah.
It would get a reaction.
So now you know how to start a conversation,
I know,
Linda.
and I was thinking that I'm actually going to use that next time I have to be, and I actually will be going on a conference in the fall. But because a lot of times, like I said, when I'm in these big events, I don't I'm not the one who initiates a lot of the conversations during the break time. And, but this time I will. And that might be one of the questions that I ask. And just to get the reaction more than
Yeah,
anything else. And that
exactly.
conversation starting, you know. But
That would
it's
be
interesting
hilarious.
because in life and in business, we have to have, we will be put in situations and we have to have some of those skills where we can initiate conversations, not just
Exactly.
wait for somebody else to start, you know,
Just
talking.
talking. And I mean, a lot of people want other people to start, but if we were all like that, there
Yeah.
would be no conversation.
That's right. It'd be a very quiet room.
A very quiet room. And there's a lot of easy questions to be asked, you know, if you're at a New Year's Eve party, hey, what's your New Year's Eve resolution? Or at a Christmas party, you know, what was the worst present you ever got? Or things like that, like interesting questions that people think, yeah, what is the best present I ever got? And it can get the conversation going, you know.
But you know what I was thinking, and this could happen for some of you, or may have happened, but I remember when I was in school, I think a lot of times, because I was always talking, in class you're not supposed to, and it was always like, Linda, be quiet. Linda, be quiet. And I remember one time we were given instructions because for some reason we were going in groups to use the restroom. And the teacher said, and no talking in the
boy.
restroom.
Oh no.
But no, it wasn't that I was talking, sort of, and how you can be semi-pregnant. So what happened was there were these two girls talking, and I said, shh, you're not supposed to be talking in the washroom. And I'm the one who got caught. So I'm the one who got in trouble for talking. I mean, yeah, I always did talk in different places, but I was just telling somebody else
Yeah.
not to. And I think sometimes maybe it's even that. You don't know where these things stem from. Because I didn't have a problem when I was
Right.
younger, but I certainly, as I grew up, had the problem being able to initiate conversations.
maybe.
And in business, you have to.
Yeah.
You know, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to make yourself more comfortable. And I think we've talked about in the past, you know, in public speaking, I had to put myself in uncomfortable situations, public speaking, in order to get over that. And that's the same with events. And I think, you know,
Well, with public speaking also, you're prepared. You have something prepared that you go up and you know how you're going to start your conversation. Not a conversation, a presentation. So, but starting a conversation, you know, one-on-one is totally different because you're not sure who you're talking to. You're not sure how they're going to react. And maybe that's the problem that keeps people from doing it. They don't know how if somebody's going to turn around and say, excuse me, am I, you know, why are you talking to me or whatever? But most people don't.
No,
They'll be polite. They'll say whatever and go on their way or, you know, and that's what I always bank on, that they'll either just say, excuse me, I'm busy or whatever, or they'll start talking. And usually they start talking. And you find
And I
out
guess-
things and you get friendships out
and
of
I
it.
guess part of it though is if you target the right people, and what I mean by that is targeting somebody that looks like they're just sitting alone, and
Well,
you
yeah,
know
that's
they're
true.
kind of like not making it, because
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like, you know, I want to be part of a group conversation, but I'm afraid that I would be looked at as an intruder, like what are you doing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who would invite you into that?
It's funny because we were on a trip not too long ago with my daughters, and we were at the hotel, and there was two guys standing outside, and my daughters were talking to the valet man, and I was sort of just standing there, and I heard the two men talking about, the one guy said to his partner, you know, I'm supposed to be on vacation, and you know, my emails, I've got like 20 emails, and I just, and this is exactly what I did. I turned around and I said, and his partner was a little older, and I said, do you remember those beautiful days where you went on vacation, no cell phones, no emails? It was fabulous. And they both looked at me, and the older gentleman said, oh, you are so right. And then we start, you know what, for 3 days, every time I saw them, we had a conversation, found out where they lived, the shows that they love. My daughter started interacting with them because they love Drag Race.
Oh.
And so they were talking about the shows, and it was phenomenal. But if I had just ignored the conversation, I wouldn't have ever got to know them.
Well, one of the things that you just mentioned, and this is on the side totally, but I was on vacation for 2 weeks on a cruise, and I did have the internet. I did it for, personal reasons, but I did not check one email, either business, personal, or anything else for the full 2 weeks. And the only thing that I did check was the odd text that I got in from, mostly it was my family and stuff. But I thought, wow, 2 weeks and I got to shut it right down
Did
electronically.
you have a lot when you got back?
Over 1,000 emails.
Oh!
But you know what? It was worth the 2 weeks. So
And they probably weren't even.
a lot of it
was
was delete. But you have to go through them kind of thing. But you know what? It was worth it.
Yeah.
And so in all of that, in this conversation, I hope we've given you some ideas of how you can make yourself comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Because you're going to need it, ladies.
Like
to
we've
be-
said before, be brave,
Yeah.
be courageous. What do you have to lose?
That's right.
Like Linda says, they can say no if they
Yeah.
don't want to be involved in your conversation, or they can walk away.
Yeah.
That's all. But probably more often than not, you're going to get quite surprised. You're going to get a friend out of it, or some business contacts, or some information you never had before.
And that's all good.
That's all we want.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
all good. So that's it for this week. I'm Linda,
And I'm Andrea.
and we hope you
Like,
share,
and please subscribe.
yes, and share with all of your friends.
Yes,
Okay, get them all to
exactly.
subscribe. We really do need it.
Yes.
We don't have that many right now, but we know
We're building.
We're building. Yes, we know that you can use us.
Right.
Women helping women. Remember that.
Bye.
Until
ladies.
next week.